they really, really care about relationships, like between the children. Like, academics aside, that's easy to do. Everybody does that. But the thing that's special there is I wanted my child to learn how to say the right thing. Like, he was awkward.
Chala Dincoy is a parent in Toronto and a professional marketer. With that hat on, she's used to thinking about the problems people have and the products they seek out to solve them. When Chala decided to move her son out of the public school system, she had one big problem on her hands. Her son's teacher was too overwhelmed, and her son had gotten too good at hiding his homework. He was falling through the cracks and at risk of falling behind in a serious way. That's where Star Academy came in, and Chala has never looked back. Tell me about Logan and who he is as a student.
He is a jokester. He has started to make these hilarious TikTok videos, like full on production. I mean, we're both in marketing here, but we're talking, talent. And so that's who he is. And it's only because his gaming time's been cut back because we've restricted him because he went up too far during COVID, just like a lot of people did, I'm sure. So now we pulled it back, and his creativity's come out, believe it or not, Jeff.
A student who responds to the recent pressures and stresses by becoming a TikTok star or on his way there, what does that tell you about the kind of students that are a good fit at Star Academy?
The creativity, that whole video making thing, they do it themselves. And it's like a family. So everybody takes on a different role. All the teachers, one guy knows how to do video, one guy knows how to do music, another one brings a DJ mixing board at the climbing day. So everybody takes on a different role and they create together. And I think he's grown up in that now. He's been there for years. Logan's been there since we only went to grade 1 in a public school, and he didn't do well at all in the public school. And then from grade 2 to 5, we've been there, and he's seen that. They even have speech night. Do you know this? And it starts from kindergarten. Like, I only did a speech like really late in high school. I don't know about you, but yeah, that's the kind of school it is.
Cool. Take me back to grade 1, to that time before Star Academy. Where were you and Logan, personally, emotionally? What was the situation you found yourself in and the problem you were trying to solve?
He was behind. He was really significantly behind in learning. And we only glimpsed at it because nobody in the public system at grade 1 said he's like late. But I really started to get concerned. And, then we went to look for, and his pediatrician said, this is really something that can be handled. And he gave a short list of school names, and that was the closest one to our place. But I did my research, I called all the places. And when they tested him going into Star Academy, they tested him, he was a year behind. And I'm thinking, okay, he's in grade 1. How could he be 1 year behind? Like, that would be grade 0, wouldn't it? Like, so that means he has like grade 0 knowledge, like kindergarten. So how's that even possible? So they caught him up. We had to do extra work, but he was able to catch up, and they don't have any tests at that age. Like, I think they still don't have tests because that puts pressure on kids. And they have all these different philosophies about schooling, which they got from some sort of European, Scandinavian, study literature. And those are some of the things that they apply. Like, he's in school right now. And it's because they believe in continuity. And all of that is all for the better learning. And so he really caught up, and now all eyes and hands are on him. He cannot breathe without anyone knowing what he's doing. It's wonderful.
So was that the first moment of introduction to Star Academy, was this list from the pediatrician?
Yeah, that's how it happened. It was a short list.
What was the common thread of schools on that list? What was the recommendation that the doctor was trying to make?
they were just all private schools. And he just said, if he needs extra attention, he's falling behind, this is what I recommend, because obviously he's seen it before. And that's because it was just he had, I don't know, 35 kids in his class. And God bless him, he had a really good teacher. This poor man had been an attorney. He was a lawyer before. And then he became a teacher for the love of children. And I'm thinking, you poor man. But he was really struggling because it was so big and there were so many children on some spectrum or another. He said the other half is undiagnosed, and he was trying his best. And what Logan used to do, he's such a smart critter, he would take all the homework that he was supposed to do and he would stuff it into his desk. And then he would say, I'm finished. And because the poor teacher has so many kids, and Logan's not by far not the worst in the class, so he would fall through the cracks.
When Logan would come home after school back in those days, what were you hearing as a parent that set off the red flags and made you go, okay, I need to look for this, this, and this?
He didn't want to go. He didn't want to go. And he wasn't bringing home any homework. And you had to do the homework at home at that time, because at Star, they do the homework there, which resolved like World War III in our house every night. And so it's like, so good. Thank you. Take care of that. They look after it. But that's what, he wasn't bringing homework. And the one or two times we asked him about numbers, or we asked him, he couldn't read. He could not read, and he would fly into a rage. I mean, in grade 1, you don't read, but he couldn't read anything. And he didn't know anything about numbers. Like, he really truly was like grade 0. And I feel so bad for him that we didn't. How would you know? Like, how would you pick that up? It comes out later. That's where.
Tell me about that moment of first impressions. When you first walked in the door or first picked up the phone, what was the first impression you got of Star Academy?
They're all very professional, all the schools that I talked to, right? Very professional. The kicker for me was right away, they gave me another mom to talk to. And she really was a lovely woman. She gave me the inside scoop. She gave me, obviously she was a fan. They wouldn't have given me her name otherwise. But her kid was very similar, very, very smart, but, hadn't been excelling in the public school, and for similar reasons. And then she told me how he had turned it around, and they had turned it around for him. So I was like, oh, okay, this is the place. And it was close to us. It was affordable enough. It was like cheaper than all the other schools. And I was like, yes. And so we went, that's how we started.
Do you remember going to that conversation with that other mom, what your big burning question was?
I was like, can they really do it? Like, is it worth all the money? Can they really turn it around? Can he catch up like a whole year? And is he always going to be behind? Is he going to be like left behind, not going to be able to graduate? Because, there are kids that they push through to graduate because no child left behind in the public school, but they're like at a much lower grade if you were to ever test them for anything, and they don't succeed. That's the biggest fear.
So let's fast forward a little bit. After the first few months of Logan at Star Academy, what were you hearing after school?
He was really wanting to go there. He loved it. Even to this day, he is so mad at COVID because he can't go. Like, he's so mad, like he melts down because he can't see his friends. Now he sees them on Zoom, but so those first months were really great. He was trying all the things he had tried in the private school, in the public school. So he would try going to the bathroom all the time. And then when he got busted, because, they said, you don't have a bladder problem, you're 11, or at the time, he wasn't, he was 8, you don't have a bladder problem. And that, like, they would pull him, or he would say something rude. And then the owner of the school, which was the principal, would pull him in. And then she would tell me about it later. And she'd say, he has these big blue eyes and he pulls a little puppy face on me and he's got little crocodile tears running, but I know what's happening. The thing about a small school like that, everybody knows everybody. Like, even if they're a teacher in kindergarten and the kid is like a different grade, they know that because they cover each other, so everybody knows. You can't get away with anything. It's wonderful.
Tell me about the philosophy at Star Academy in your own words.
they really, really care about relationships, like for the between the children. Like, academics aside, that's easy to do, everybody does that. But the thing that's special there is I wanted my child to have learn how to say the right thing. Like, he was awkward. He would watch Star Trek and go, call people aliens. And then I would get a call from the mom and say, an African American little boy, and say, you know, my son was called an alien today, and then I would have to explain to her that he's really into Star Trek. But now they do that. Like, they're the ones who like, just yesterday, his homeroom teacher was role playing with him one-on-one because he said something inappropriate about big boned women. So, like, she had to role play with him and say, that could offend someone. That's not appropriate. What if you were that way? And then she told me about it. So these things, like, nobody has the time in any, like, I don't know any other private school, but like, who has the time to do that? Even sometimes his parents, we don't have the time to role play with them. We just say, don't say that. Right? We say that's the wrong thing to say.
What does it mean for you as a parent to know that, of course the academics are being taken care of, but this whole other part of the person is also being taken care of?
It's amazing. They have this mindfulness mat, so that if you're not behaving properly, or you're not feeling good, which is their, I guess, way of not behaving properly, you're supposed to go to a mat and you're supposed to pick a word, and you're supposed to think about it off of the mindfulness mat. It's hilarious. Like, I don't know. They do meditation. They do all this. I really don't know the details, and I'm amazed that they're doing it. I don't even know how because he doesn't do it here. Even though I tried desperately to introduce him to yoga and all matters of things, but they do it there as a matter of course, and everybody has to do it. So all the kids are doing it.
Now that he's getting up into the upper grades, what have you seen, observed? How has this experience evolved as far as the experience he's getting at Star Academy?
Well, like last year, I think 2 kids only graduated out of the school at the top level, at the top grade. So my concern for him is the social aspect of not being with too many kids his age. That's one. So what if you don't get along with the other kid, right? So there's just 2 of you in the same grade. And then but when we drive by ginormous public high schools where the kids are out and playing, he's like, I'm not going there. He is terrified of going, because to him it's like home. It's controlled, it's social, everybody knows everyone in every grade, all the kids know each other. It's like just this little town. And then he just doesn't, I think he even wants to go to a private small university, probably, if he can, manage all the way to get there. And I'm like, well, I got to work hard to make all the money to get you to all those places, right? But we'll see what he wants. I think he still wants that private small, even if it's just 2 people.
Has these things that make the experience of Star Academy unique, has that changed how you plan and look about and think about the future as a parent?
It has, because they teach him stuff that I don't see my other friends' kids learning at that age. And so I think they've made him into this little entrepreneur. And he just posted a video on Facebook about wanting to buy 2 gaming screens, and he had a lawnmower, and said he was taking clients, and he wouldn't go lower than $30. And I don't know how he got that price in his head, but he said, it's $30. And I kid you not, that weekend he made $90, and he has 2 recurring clients at $60. Like, unbelievable. So, and he's so articulate. Like, we don't see him enough for him to pick that up from us. And people are just, they can't believe he's 11. And he's not especially gifted or anything. He's, average, and in fact, a little bit behind in academics, but the things that they're teaching him socially, he's really putting on a really good show for people. And those are the things that are affecting his future.
Entrepreneurship normally isn't a class in grade 5.
I don't know if they teach it, but whatever they're doing, they have projects. That's what they do. They have like, even for a science fair, they have projects, and then they have clubs, and then they have projects for those. And then like there's a leadership club that he belonged to, and they had to sell stuff in that. I know like for Cubs they do as well, but I mean, I think they're teaching him like how to manage that, making the money on the Friday. So they're selling like freezies or something. So all these things are somehow contributing to him asking for $30, and he'll come and do your lawn, Jeff.
Well, he sounds great. He's hired.
He's hired. I'll tell him he's got another job.
But you know, this all makes me think about, so often for the student, succeeding in the classroom is about succeeding in the next test, getting into the next school, planning for university, career, and then the wider world. Do you think that he has a different relationship with the why, the reason behind the education?
You know, I don't think he thinks very much about that at all. But whatever's happening to him, it's positive. It's changed him so much, and it gives me so much hope for his future, and for him to be able to stand out from all his peers. But you know, to sit and analyze it like what you said, no. But do I think? Yes. What you said is very much true, and I'm so grateful that we are able to afford it, because the parents there are not like wealthy parents. They're just they scrimp and save and put their kids through this amazing education because they know their kids would fall behind otherwise. And they do. That's why most people come, because the kids are failing out of the regular system. And now I don't even know, they're not going to go back. Like Star Academy is going back in September, as far as I know, but I don't think regular schools are going back. I mean, you would know.
Chala, I want to ask you, I want to do a little thought experiment with you, and wave my magic wand and put you in charge of Star Academy for the next 5 to 10 years.
Oh, you know what? I'm a marketer, so I go overdrive on the marketing. I know I always scare the ladies. We're great friends. The owners, Heather and Julie, were great friends. So I have a marketing company. So I'm always telling them like, do this, do that, do this, do that. And you know, they're a lot calmer than me. They're a lot, you know, more kind of conservative than me. So that's what I would do. You know, I'd like super drive it. Of course, that would change the school, right? In a way.
So let's think like that. All right. You know, changing the school is totally on the table. Thinking like a marketer and the value proposition that this school brings to families like your own. What is something in the existing value proposition and existing strength that you would double down on, and something you would try to introduce, develop, improve? Those two sides.
Well, to improve, it would be the marketing. And the value proposition would be based on the pain of the children who are failing out of the regular school system, whether because they're too slow or too fast. There's no individualized attention, and increasingly it's more difficult to get it. And it's been proven that, you know, Zoom learning is not working for a lot of children. And so now, if during COVID, the public education system is going to rely heavily on that, it's not going to work. And I don't even think they're doing Zoom. I don't think public education is doing Zoom during COVID. I think they're just doing online sending of our, you know, homework. So, you know, especially now, that is like the biggest, the individualized, even though during COVID, Logan had up to 5 Zoom meetings, and 3 of them with the school, and 3 of them a day, like would be individualized for one-on-one. There's no way that you would get that kind of attention anywhere else. I mean, unless you went to, I don't even know what other private schools, I mean, you're interviewing everyone, but not in a public school. So that's the value proposition for me, is if your kid is not thriving in the public school, you have to bring them a relief. You have to, because then they're going to get behind and behind and behind and behind. Then they'll be like pushed through just to graduate. I mean, that happened to my niece. She didn't graduate, and they just graduated her. They pushed her through. So because they like no child left behind, but then she ended up like having to drop half of her university load because she was like dying. She couldn't succeed in that environment because she just couldn't cope. So she really should have repeated.
So taking on the one hand this "no child left behind" mantra, as you mention it, and thinking again with your marketer's hat on, that big phrase, who is it for?
It's for parents who are worried about their children not doing well in regular school. And it's for like the average everybody, because it really, like my friends at the moms, the other moms that we get together, we all have regular jobs. Like nobody's a Donald Trump, like nobody's going out there and you know, buying the world. We're all scrimping and saving. Some of us are single moms, and we're still scrimping and saving and sending our children to this school because it's so important for their future, especially the younger formative years.
So going back to my little thought experiment, if you were the CEO and the headmaster and the whole shebang for the next 5 to 10 years,
you want to make
what's something new that you would work on? What's a challenge that you would address head on?
Other than the marketing, you're saying, right? You're talking about operational.
Or tell me more about that.
Well, I mean, in the marketing, I believe in online marketing. So, you know, social selling is a new thing. So I believe that they can really pump it hard. And we've talked about this, and maybe they're doing something. I have no idea. I haven't talked to them recently, but and then targeting and then messaging around that pain of, you know, is your child failing in not succeeding in school? And we have the solution for that. And then, you know, what other improvements to the school? As I said, when you do the marketing, you would get more people. So that would resolve the only 2 people in one grade kind of issue. But then
am I hearing, Chala, that it's the secret is too well kept?
Yeah. You know how some small businesses, like, only if they could get the exposure, and this is why they're doing this, right? They're trying to get the exposure, and it's part of their marketing budget to be included in our kids' media. So when they get the word out, they convert, but it's because nobody knows how their children would change, and how, you know, if they don't want to, they never have to do homework at home again. That is such a bonus.
There's the headline.
Yeah, there's the headline. Honestly, well, for us, it was World War III every night.
So bring me back to that. What was happening with your family at home in the evening, you know, emotionally, and through this change as you went to Star Academy? How did that emotion change?
So in the public school, Logan wouldn't eat. Like we would put his lunch, and for 11 hours, he would just starve himself because he would rather play. And nobody cared. Like nobody cared. We talked to his teacher, and they're like, yeah, whatever. And I mean, you know, the man was just eating his own lunch. And that was just one part of it. So then when he would come home, of course, he'd be like hangry, and then his blood sugar would be like low, and he'd be tired. And then he would have to do homework he didn't understand because he hadn't learned anything, either because he was hungry or because, you know, they didn't teach it well enough, and he didn't practice it because he didn't do the homework because stuffing the papers. So it's like a vicious cycle. So then the difference was, of course, like as soon as Heather and Julie bought the school, what they started to do was they agreed to heat up a lunch for him individually, just by himself, because he had this you know, food issue. He just wouldn't eat anything unless it was like freshly made. So we would send food boxes, and he would eat them because he would meet, you know, one of them in the kitchen, which is the teacher's kitchen. So like, who would do that for you? Like nobody would do that for you. And then we even engaged like a nutritionist that they had on staff. So, you know, and Heather herself made a food plan with him. She sat down and she wrote down every day what he would like to eat. So I would send a different food every single day that other kids were getting jealous, apparently, that he had a different lunch every day. But it all came through because of that individualized attention. And then he would eat, and then the homework part, we didn't have to have a conflict at home because they have homework club. So right after school ends, they have homework club where they make them do their homework and then they check it. So I'm like, oh, thank God. So like when he came home, all he had to do was eat and play. Like, how amazing is that?
How, as grade 8 is getting closer and closer, what's your feeling about the next step?
I have a feeling that he's going to resist going to a public high school. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's just decided, and he's quite rigid in his opinions. So even when he was like a little kid, so I mean, he's still a little kid, but even when he was younger, I should say. So a lot of my friends from the school are looking at private high schools as well. So I'll be following closely how they're going to do, because I don't think he wants to handle the big, huge crowds, right?
Thinking about what has been valuable about Star Academy for Logan and yourself, what's your burning question watching your other parents go through the decision-making process for the next school? What's the thing that's now really valuable for you to find again?
Do you mean for the ones that are going to, well, I guess for both, right? For the ones that are going next step to public and next step to private. Yeah, I'm going to be watching how it goes for them. What I've heard is when a child goes to a private school and then they transition into a public school, they do really well because academically they're more superior. That's what I've heard from the friends that have transitioned their children into public school. So, but then, why wouldn't you want to, if you could afford it, why wouldn't you want to continue that high standard of education all the way through to university, right? That's my thinking. Like, it just seems to me like it would be a higher level of education because it's smaller again and it's private. It's just been my experience. So I don't know, but I'll be listening for, their experiences too.
Thinking about, this sharing of wisdom between parents, I'm wondering if you find yourself often in the position of having other parents ask you about Star Academy.
Oh yeah. I mean, we have such a great crowd. That's the other thing about being small. It's like we know each other. We get together at each other's houses. We have play dates together. We just bought a giant trampoline, his dad and him, and they put a hose on, like under it. So like they're jumping on top, like in their bathing suit. So we've got like 2 kids coming, like one each different day on the weekend, so that it's socially distant. The kids are not going to social distance on that thing. But yeah, so that's the beauty of it. And then the moms and I have become friends. So we're like, belly aching to each other about the kids, but we all have the same issues, especially during COVID. Like all the kids have fallen into, addiction, back into gaming. All the kids are like gotten fat. All the kids are getting really, really bored and they melt down easy. So we all have the same struggles. We all have the similar kids who did not survive or thrive in that other environment. So it's such a community. It's really nice.
What role does the school itself play in that community? Tell me about the relationship between Star Academy and its parents.
They do. They hold events, right? And that's where you see each other. It's just like, when you go to a wedding or a funeral, you go to, I'm not likening their events to that, but they hold some events, some really interesting, they get some really interesting speakers. They had a Paralympic hockey player, I think, when they sit on those chairs. I'm probably like saying it all wrong, but yeah, so he came out to speak. He didn't show his leg though, but he still came out to speak. And it was really for those kids who understood that he really didn't have a leg, because he was wearing like regular pants. It was hard to see. But so that was another guy. He's a local, huge printing business. And he has, you probably may even know him, CJ Parks. He has a skating park for the underprivileged children. Indoor. So he was the speaker, and he's like this huge benefactor, and really great events that they come up with and they think about. The kids have like movie nights, popcorn nights. You can drop the kids off. He's like so excited. You'd think he has like a date or something. It's like the same thing as like a dance out of high school, but they're not that old and nobody's dancing that I know of.
I'm wondering, has this experience at Star Academy changed anything for you personally in your own worldview?
Oh God, yes. First of all, I used to believe that the education is similar because I didn't go to a private school. I mean, I went to a public school in Quebec and I thought it was fine. Look how I turned out, right? But I didn't realize that the disparity has gotten bigger because the resources have gotten smaller for public schools. And it doesn't matter how good a teacher is if they're like overwhelmed, they're overwhelmed. So in my life, it's given me the peace of mind and the realization that this was totally the right thing to do. And I really have to make sure that, you know, he continues on this road to have all hands and all eyes on him. Because it's like they're making a piece of art. They're putting pressure. You know how diamonds are made under pressure. So they're putting all the pressure on him and he really is shining. So and also things are easier for me because I don't have to fight with them. I don't have to fight so much about food. I don't have to fight so much about homework. And they're on him constantly. It's lovely. I know it probably sounds like some sort of prison, but like for me, it's great. Peace of mind.
What are you looking forward to in terms of Logan's remaining years at Star Academy?
Well, I'm really looking forward to September. I'll tell you that because because it's going to be open and he'll be able to go. Right now, how it is like it's almost like homeschooling him, right? I know he's in class, but I have to make sure he gets on time. He does his homework. I have to and I run my own business out of my home. So like we've got two screens. I'm running my Zooms. He's running his Zooms. It's really kind of ridiculous. So I'm really looking forward to that. But in terms of the bigger question of him developing into the potential that he has and to see that growing and, see his science projects and him presenting every year and, being in the leadership committee and all these other different clubs that they have, just really, really great ways that they're supporting his growth into adulthood. It's great.
Picking up on growth and thinking of how the owners of this school and you've seen the school grow up alongside Logan. Is there something that you've seen them build, improve, try out, innovate? What have you seen evolve over your time?
The first thing they put on, to be clear, we went in when there was a completely different ownership and they were very lovely as well. And they gave him a lot of attention, but it's really shifted with the new ownership because things are so much more modern. And it started right away with the camera security door, like right away, like before anybody could go in. And I never thought twice about it, but in today's day, it really does make sense to have that, right? And they've been proactive about, when the school was about to change location because of, they were being bought out or the property was being sold. They were so proactive in how they handled the communications around it. Now it's that, threat has gone away. Thank God. But they were so proactive in looking for a place, in getting the parents to write to, the government officials to help us get that space that they were looking for. So there's lots of things that they're doing that are proactive. Like some of the funding started, they were self-funding some things with the prior owners. There was no fundraising. So now there's fundraising for extra stuff for the kids and extra teachings, for extra learning for the teachers. Lots of new stuff. I think they really took it and made it their own, and it's improvements from my end.
That's an impressive degree of evolution in 4 years' time.
Well, they tried to do it like all in first year. They really did. They made all those changes in the first year and they're just tweaking them every year. But, they came from two other private schools. They were the principals of two other private schools, of really large ones. So it's the best of both worlds. The collision of like the brain trust for decades. That's what they did.
When you find yourself face to face with another parent who's asking about Star Academy, what's the headline that you tell them?
you won't believe it, but one of Logan's clients, his lawn mowing clients, actually did direct message me on. Well, that's how we met on Facebook, because we put it on Facebook Marketplace, or Alderwood Moms. That's where we put it in. So she asked. She said, "Oh, we're thinking about Star Academy. What would you say?" And so I voicemailed her, like voice messaged her, and I said, "We're so happy with it. We've been there for years, and I would not hesitate to recommend it." And I gave her my phone number, but she never called back. So hopefully it'll be enough. Maybe that was enough for her. Who knows? But I did my homework when I was looking, and I talked to lots of schools, lots of moms. Oh yeah, I did my research.
If you could pick up the phone and call yourself back then when you were going through that decision-making process, what advice would you give your past self?
It would have been to call as many people as possible, and I kind of did. There weren't any like surprises, so I think I knew enough going in. Like I had talked to enough people. Maybe I didn't do as much research about all the other schools, because like it was close, it was cheaper, and it was so well recommended by everyone, and I couldn't hear anything negative about it. So it was kind of like a slam dunk. So maybe that's what I would have said to myself, is maybe look further into other schools to see if there's anything there that can help him more or better.
Chala, I want to be respectful of your time, but before I do, I want to give you the steering wheel. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that I ought to?
You could ask what kind of personality thrives there.
What kind of personalities thrive there?
Do you know, most of the moms that I spoke to, their kids were having trouble. Therefore, it was exhibiting in misbehavior in other schools. And I'm not saying like, because of my video, I don't want a funnel of misbehaving kids to be in Logan's class tomorrow. But what I'm saying is any child who has been stressed will thrive here, because I mean that's how it's made. Like there's no tests at the younger grades, there's no disciplinary action, there's no ignoring, forgetting, there's a ton of support, there's a ton of people who are encouraging socialization, there's mindfulness, there's all those practices. So that's the kind of kid I think will thrive here, and luckily I think there's so many of them. I mean, luckily for the school, not for the moms, but there are so many of them because of all the issues. And now with COVID, I don't even know where that's at.
Do you think the crack has gotten wider?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think if they don't go back to a classroom style, it's going to be worse. And I don't even know what's going to happen, but I think they're saying that it's possible that they're going to have half days, right? So either way, it's just less contact for the children with an adult who's teaching them. And they already were 1 to 35 or whatever it was in Logan's class. So they already had reduced contact. Now they're going to have even more reduced contact. And that because to protect them from the pandemic. But in terms of learning, especially if you're struggling, how does that help? Like that's just gonna delay learning, and then they're gonna push you through because no child left behind, and then they're gonna fail later in life. But I don't want to be a doomsday, I don't want to be all doom and gloom. Some people pick it up or they get outside help, they get tutors, that's fine. But this was the place for us. I'm so glad, I'm so blessed that I can afford it and that we found it.
Any final words of wisdom for those families who might be going through that same decision-making process right now?
Yes, my final word is there is not even a comparative, you can't even compare the level of service and education that you get in a private school, at least the one that I know, at this private school, with a public school. There just is not. Unless your child is a star of some, like, unless they're good on their own, they're really, really achievers, self-achievers, then good for you. God bless you. Go on to some vacation with that money. But if they need help, more than, you know, what you can provide for them outside or what the school is providing for them, then it's just like a no-brainer.
Chala, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you.